I'm just gonna do this the whole 6 minutes.
And we're back.
Take 1. Take 5.
Just pretend we're all naked. Or in underwear.
It's underwear.
It's underwear.
Oh
Which one are we?
Alright, shh. Y'all ready? Got your game faces on. Shh. Take 3.
Take 4. Today we're here to talk about increasing the federal minimum wage. Imagine working full-time 40 plus hours a week even and still struggling to make ends meet. You're living paycheck to paycheck, unable to afford basic needs like rent, groceries, healthcare, and not being able to support your family. For many Americans, this is their reality. According to PYM-NTS, today some 76% of Americans say they live paycheck to paycheck. And yet the federal minimum wage is still stuck at $7.25 an hour. And it has been that way for nearly 2 decades, failing to keep up with the cost of living in America. As someone who believes in fairness and justice and has had to work for minimum wage, I am here today to advocate for a policy that will benefit millions of Americans, increasing the federal minimum wage. I have researched the outcome of this policy, and I am confident that this change will be prosperous for our future. Whether you're a college student, a parent, or just someone who wants to see a stronger economy, this issue impacts you. Whether it be now or later, a raise in the minimum wage affects not only the workers, but also the entire economy. It affects everything from consumer spending to economic growth. Increasing the federal minimum wage will have 2 main benefits. It will not only lift millions of Americans out of poverty, but also contribute to a stronger, more sustainable economy for the future. Today I will discuss why the federal minimum wage should be increased, the benefits to this policy, and how this change can lead to a more equitable and prosperous tomorrow for future generations. The last time the federal minimum wage was increased was in 2009. FDR was the first president to institute a federal minimum wage. Angela Harmon explains that he enacted this law to reduce the number of Americans living in poverty and to increase spending during the Great Depression. Since 2009, however, inflation has drastically eroded the spending power of Americans. According to a study by Shilpa Madan, Anaya May, and Anita Rotten, and Christian Savina, a worker earning minimum wage today makes 27.4% less than they would have made in July 2009. This shows how people working for minimum wage have to work 1.25 times harder than they did in the past for the same amount of money. Another example, the minimum wage of $7.25 could have bought a lot more in 2009 than it can today. In real terms, working minimum wage today, workers making minimum wage they are earning significantly less than their counterparts from 10 years ago. Without a minimum wage increase, workers are stuck in cycles of poverty, unable to afford basic necessities, and are in deep cycles of poverty. This causes a deep dependence on government institutions like food stamps and government housing, which further increases burdens upon taxpayers. Point 2. The idea of the federal minimum wage was to fight against poverty. Increasing the federal minimum wage would directly help millions of workers who are living below the poverty line. The Journal of Poverty has stated, increasing the wage of society's lowest earners will lift many individuals out of poverty. Raising the federal minimum wage by just a few dollars could lift millions out of poverty and improve the lives of everyday Americans. This increase would provide workers with enough income to meet basic needs and reduce their reliance on government assistance programs like food stamps and government housing. Additionally, workers with a higher wage are better able to support their families, access better health care, and contribute to their communities. When people are paid a livable wage, they can afford the essentials and have extra money for things like investing in their education, their children's future, and their overall well-being. Many people who oppose raising the minimum wage often argue that it will hurt all forms of businesses, particularly small business, by raising labor costs. However, studies have shown that a higher minimum wage can actually benefit the economy by increasing consumer spending. When workers have more disposable income, they tend to spend a lot more on goods and services, which in turn boosts demand and stimulates economic growth. Furthermore, paying workers a fair wage can improve employee morale and reduce turnover. When businesses pay higher wages, they attract more skilled and motivated workers, leading to higher productivity and lower recruitment and training costs. Numerous businesses, including large corporations like Costco and Starbucks, already pay above the minimum wage and have found that paying workers better wages results in higher retention, more loyal customers, and greater overall success. This shows that paying workers can be both morally and economically beneficial. Some people also oppose that raising the minimum wage will lead to widespread job loss. Jeff Clayson has stated that there's statistical evidence that a substantial increase in the minimum wage has triggered relatively consistent patterns of unemployment among the least skilled workers. This shows one of the possible downsides of increasing the minimum wage. While it is true that any policy change has its potential downsides, studies consistently show that modest increases in the minimum wage do not have a significant impact on job loss. Additionally, the increased consumer spending generated by higher wages tend to counterbalance any negative effects on employment. In fact, in states where the minimum wage has already been raised, there's no significant job losses, and in some cases, there has even been job growth. In conclusion, the federal minimum wage has not kept up with inflation or the rising cost of living. An increase in the federal minimum wage would lift millions out of poverty, improve the standard of living, stimulate the economy by increasing consumer spending. By raising the federal minimum wage, we can reduce poverty, help workers, and build a stronger economy for everybody. According to Building an Economy for All, raising the minimum wage would be an investment in growing the middle class and a clear way to build the economic securities of workers and their families. Furthermore, studies show that such an increase would actually benefit business rather than harm them. It would in turn not result in significant job loss. Now is the time for change. We have the opportunity to create a better, more equitable future for all Americans by assuring that every worker in this country earns a wage that reflects the hard work they put in every day. It is time to raise the minimum wage for all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's Levi's turn.
Go, Levi.
That's another reason why you don't get anybody worth a crap either working, because they're not getting paid enough.